Welcome, everyone. Hi. Welcome back to another episode of Thanks for Nothing. Thank you to, yes. Oh, please say it. Go ahead.
Thanks for nothing.
Yes, we are so excited to have all of you viewing in from around the world. Let us know where you are viewing from today and something that you're celebrating. Let's get this party started off to a great start. I'm excited. We are excited about today's show, today's topic. We are going to be feeling ourselves up a little bit. Am I wrong?
I like now I get it. Yes, we're feeling ourselves up.
We're feeling ourselves up today. And we are excited that you will be feeling yourselves up with us today. And by the end of today, by the end of this show, you will be walking away with more tools, with higher, better vibrations. We're just excited and grateful that you are here. Don't forget also that if you are watching from a Facebook group, be sure that you give StreamYard permission. Otherwise, you will just show up as Facebook user, and we know that you are so much more than that. How are you doing today?
I am groovilicious.
Ooh, groovilicious. That comes with its own energy.
Yes, groove. Very.
Dr. Margaret, the world's
person who's saying groove is in the heart, like the 80s,
oh yeah,
90s.
Yeah, I loved it. Your groove is in the heart. I was going to say B-52s, but it's not. I know it's not.
No, not the B-52s.
Yeah.
I see daisies, but it's not the B-52s.
I see the daisies too. I see the video. Yes.
It'll come to us. It'll come to us.
Okay, great. Awesome. So for those, if anyone knows it, just throw it into the chat, because then it'll make us stop thinking about it and we can actually be fully present here with you. So for those of you who are watching live with us today, thank you for sharing this time and space with us. And if you are watching the replay, thanks for tuning in. And the awesome part is that you can fast forward to wherever you want, but why would you want to do that?
Why would you want to miss anything of any of our brilliance?
Any of our songs that are going to come, like as we were creating the topic of this show, everyone, songs were just coming, and one of them was, we changed up the lyrics. I want to feel you up. I changed. Oh God, no wonder this is an international global sensation, this show, because look at what happens here.
We just laugh.
Yeah. So what's going on? Let's start. Let's dive into this today. I know we're going to be talking a bit about, for those of you who are drawn into this topic, and for whatever reason, naughty people, talking about today the power of imagination, right?
Yeah.
Talking today about vibrations. Talking about creating. I know, creating and manifesting, and perhaps the steps involved in that, and what may be missing for some as they create their vision boards and create their affirmations, but might be missing a part of that.
The most important part.
What'd you say?
The most important part, I think.
The most important part.
Yeah.
And what that actually looks like, because I mean, I'll just dive in and say that that the energetic part of bringing your dream, your goals, whatever that is, to physical form. I was a vision board girl, an affirmation girl, and there are so many times, like over, some time, I was like, what time is there? Where you would state something or say something, but there was a part of you that maybe felt that you didn't have that. Like, people are, I don't know if you ever hear people say to you, like, how do I say, like, I am wealthy or I am a millionaire, and your physical bank account doesn't show that. And so there sends off that lack of abundance energetically, that could actually detract from you receiving stuff. So we're going to kind of get into, we are going to get into that today. A bit of what that looks like, and maybe other ways that if you don't see that you physically have it, that you could still attract it.
Yes. So where shall we start?
Well, what popped it? Well, first, I would love, what do you think about having our viewers share something that they perhaps want to bring into existence, a goal, and to clearly state it in the comments, because after today, them just stating it and starting it is a really good jump off point to them being able to attract it by the end of this.
That's great.
Okay.
And then I have thought of what we can do.
No, please go ahead. I've been yapping.
No, that I think that's a great start, and then we can build upon that as we go deeper into the feels. Yeah. So if whoever's watching live or watching the replay, pop into the comments. I would do it as just for now a short, more of a short statement of something that you desire, something that you want to bring into your physical reality.
Awesome.
I have an example.
Yes,
well,
please
it's actually
share.
the
Let's give
example
real
of,
life. Let's give real life stuff here.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of something that I was going through my files looking for a document, and I came across this thing I wrote, and I just was looking at the date. I wrote it back on September 29th, and it's called my done deal home in Porto. September 29th. It's October 26th. So not even a full month has gone by, right? And I forgot that I wrote this. So this is the power of writing down, as Shari just invited you all to do, of writing down, not just having it in your mind, what it is that you want. Now, I did write this in more detail, so it was more than just the one sentence. But writing it down was the starting point, right? And then that's where a lot of people leave it, though, right? They write it and then don't really go any deeper into that. So should I read it?
Yes.
Should I read it? Okay.
Read it. Read it.
All right. Not many people know the outcome, and you know the outcome. Denise knows. Margaret knows the outcome of this. So this will be interesting for those of you who actually have been following me very personally, but not a lot of people know what has happened. Okay, so it says, my first permanent landing spot in Portugal is an abode that has wonderful light and has a sense of spacious openness. It looks out upon the water and will give me access to the ever-changing colors of the open sky. It has modern appliances, fixtures, and decor. My bed is so comfortable and cozy, and I always wake up refreshed. My bedroom windows give me a delightfully inspiring view through which to do my waking dream work every morning. The kitchen has ample counter space and all of the conveniences I need to create edible works of art. Crack myself up. My bathroom has lovely light, and the shower is like my own private sanctuary. My home is right out of a magazine photo shoot for a high-end design magazine. It's a blend of old world charm and new world conveniences that induce a state of high creativity and deep peace. When I walk through the doors, I know that I am home, and my body has a sense of comfort and wonderment. My spirits can't help but be uplifted by the simple beauty and high design functionality of my home. Crack myself up. Luxury
for a magazine.
Sounds like a magazine, right?
Yeah.
Luxury and opulence are her name. I have this home at a reduced price because the landlord is content knowing that I am the one maintaining it. I am situated in a beautiful historical neighborhood that has a deeply mystical energy rooted in the very origins of the city, and I accomplish greatness in my abode.
That is detailed. That is energy.
Yes. So, and I can go into the what happened.
Yeah. Yes,
Subsequently. Please. But just as an example, now I know we just asked you to write a short sentence here, those of you watching, as a starting point. But then what you want to do after that, right, is take it into that more descriptive place, right? So I really clearly got into writing.
What, really?
With very, specific language and tone, because I wanted to evoke a certain feeling. And it was a very visual process, right? So once you have your initial, I want this, that's not enough. What about it? Where is it happening? What does it look like? What are the details? What do you see out your window? Whatever the thing is, right? Taking it to that deeper level. Should I say what happened?
That's a silly question, because if our viewers are anything like me, I'd be like, okay, so tell me what happened.
Shut up and stop talking. I mean, and
All
tell
right,
us
well,
what
that's our
happened.
show for today. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next Wednesday.
See you next week.
Thanks
And
for
that's a way to get people to come back, maybe.
That's literally the audience going, thanks for nothing.
Thanks for that's hence the name of our show. Yes. So, well, my friends, at the time I wrote that, I had absolutely no idea where this would happen. I knew what I wanted to have happen. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should have said a lot more things about it because every single thing that I wrote down happened. So in a few days, I'm moving into the penthouse on the 9th floor of this apartment building that is literally 50 steps away from where I am right now in an Airbnb. And it is filled with light. It has modern appliances upon which I will create my edible works of art. It even has a washing and drying machine in the apartment, which is, that's pretty
Even that
cool.
sounds fancy. That's like fancier than a washer and dryer. It's a washing and drying machine.
It's all in one. It's a very European thing, right?
I know.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm in Portugal. So I'm talking about living in Portugal, not San Diego or any other city in the US. You can always add more, Denise said. Yes, I will go back and add more because now we need to furnish it. So
it'll be opulent.
It's the opulence part. Yes, I get more descriptive about that. So that revision. Okay, so it has views on 3 different sides. So literally from my apartment, I will be able to see the sun rises through the midday to the sunset. It's exactly what I wrote, right? One of the views is of the river, the Douro River that runs through Porto. So everything I said there is what came to be, including getting a reduced price because the owner of the apartment wanted a little bit more, and I negotiated the rent. And not only that, I negotiated the move-in amount. So I got some money knocked off of that as well. So the negotiation piece was in there, and that's exactly what happened. So this is the power of writing, having an intention, having a very clear intention. But it wasn't just that I was so descriptive in the writing of it. There was the layer that this show today is themed around, which is the feeling, the feels. So once I realized, I wonder if I wrote that from this apartment. I'll have to look at the dates. I might have written that from this apartment that I'm in now, the Airbnb, not knowing that it would be this manifestation would happen right around the corner, literally, right? So when this apartment came to me, because it was never going to be for anyone else, right?
And let's be real here. It's not just an apartment.
Penthouse. The 3-bedroom, 2-bath penthouse with this ridiculously amazingly large wraparound terrace that I can have a giraffe and a vegetable garden on, right? You can.
So I'm heading out there.
Come on over.
That's my giraffe.
Your favorite animal. It's huge. It's huge, right? So once it became identified and I knew I was going to live there, every time I've walked out and around it, because I have to pass it a couple times a day, every day.
Yeah.
I started talking to it. And before it was actually mine and before I signed the lease, I would stop at the front door and imagine myself opening that door. I was feeling what it's like to walk through that door. I would imagine myself in the bed that's here, waking up or going to sleep, looking out the windows because I knew what the views were now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what would that feel like in my body? So there were these visualizations, not of seeing it, but also allowing myself to go into the feels of it. How would I feel? What would that induce in my body? How's it? A big one for me was the room that will be my office, which has the $1 million view looking out to the river. I imagined myself standing in that window or sitting at the desk that will be there, creating the next levels of my businesses, and just how much joy and happiness and excitement that would bring me, right? So all this extra layer of the feeling is really what I've been working with, because I forgot that I wrote that document. Totally forgot until I happened upon it today, just in time for our show.
Just in time, but of course.
So this is the power of going into that imaginal act and using and invoking those feelings and doing it. I did it many times because I walk by that building every time. So I would talk to the building. I would talk to the apartment. I did it today when I came off the train. The first thing you see is this building. I was like, oh, hello, home, right?
Yep.
I'm already imagining walking into the door and walking into, my living room, my office, whatever. So that extra layer of feeling before you even have the thing is what brings the thing.
I wanted to quote that before, but then I was like, only he can say it.
Before you have the thing,
You have to have the thing. Yes. And I wrote down, because recently I was having a conversation when I was back east visiting family and talking about imagination and visualization. And I know that there are some people who feel like they have challenges or trouble going into that space. What if I can't see clearly what it is? Is that going to hold me back from actually manifesting or creating what it is that I want? And my answer to that is that we're always imagining things, even if they're not good, right? Like we sometimes imagine the worst possible situation or the worst outcome.
That's easier often
Right.
for a lot of folks.
Right.
I know what that's like personally.
Yeah, like, yes, you could start to go over in your head how all of this or all of that. Or when you are going on vacation somewhere and you start imagining yourself on the beach, right? Like, what is that going to feel like? We are always in our imagination. And I would like to say that, like, that's what we did as kids, right? Like, we were always in that space. And it's no wonder or coincidence that as children, we were so joyful, because we were always in that high energy vibration place. And I share that because at some point, I was previously someone that had the challenge to really clearly see what it is that I want, but I knew what it would feel like to have it, but not always. And so a tool that I have found really helpful is, if, for example, you're someone who doesn't, your physical reality doesn't show a lot of money in your bank account. And so to state things like, I am abundant, or I feel this, feels like you're lying to yourself. What I have found helpful is finding the abundance in other areas of your life, like you're filled with love, right? Or love always surrounds you, or like feeling the love of the coffee, or the abundance of all of the trees around you. Just being able to get into that higher feeling place. And that's what I've done, Rich, like over the last 3 months for me, that just personally has been all of the fun, all of the inner child work, all of the spinning and the blowing bubbles, all of that. While to an outside person, perhaps like my partner, might be like, okay, nut job, like sees that as like, all right, that's a little crazy. I got to tell you that energy has attracted so much more for me, right? Like, so I kind of wanted to just, I'm going to stop using that word. I want to state that, because there's always a way to feel into what it is that you desire. And like you said, if you're missing that piece, you're only going to get so far, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I know there's actual percentages around this. I can't remember them right now, but the vast majority of people don't even write down what they want. They might think it, but they don't even get it out of their head onto paper or, whatever, a document, right? So just doing that, you're putting yourself in a very small percentage of people who do this, but an even smaller percentage so far. I know we're on a mission to change these numbers, and those numbers don't exist in our reality, right? Everyone in our reality does this already, right?
This is why we're inviting you to state clearly something you want to bring into existence. State it.
Yeah. Yes. Type it down. then write it down somewhere else so that it's
Yeah.
not lost after this, and then build it out from there in great detail, and use funny language like I did on mine, because that made it feel very posh. I wanted it to be
It
opulent.
was posh. I
It was
felt that
posh.
energy. So, and look at you with a penthouse.
Well, see, that's a good point. I didn't say just any place.
Right.
And here's the thing I have to say about this, which is I had just this just dropped into my head.
Is that you dropping in, Diana?
Probably. At the time I wrote that, I wasn't looking for a penthouse. I was just looking for any place I could find that I could have an address here in Portugal. And that originally looked like a room share in someone else's apartment.
Mm.
And then it graduated to a studio, maybe a 1-bedroom, right? That's the level that I was at, because I just wanted the address for, legal purposes. So, but what I wrote was not that, right? I talked about spaciousness and
Mm-hmm.
air and light and views, and because that's what was in my heart that I wanted. So the truth of what I wanted came out in those moments I gave myself, just to write it out like so elegantly. So that's what came. So nothing else showed up. Here's another way of looking at it. I'm sure Diana would say this. Because of what I wrote and what this really wanted, nothing else was going to show up unless it was a match for that. That's why no room shares, studios, or 1-bedrooms came, despite all of my best efforts. And it was also after I stopped trying so hard to find those things that
Yes.
this came into being as well. So there's a lot
And
of
it
layers.
felt like, sorry, I don't mean, but I just wanted to say, and it felt like that was always yours. Like it was no surprise that it was a penthouse, because how you described in detail and with the energy what your life looks like and what it's going to, that only seemed natural, that that's what was going to show up.
Yeah. And when I walked into it, I was like, oh, this is where I'm going to live. And I did have to do a pretty fast, like, this is not a studio. This is not a 1-bedroom. This is not a 2-bedroom. This is 3 freaking bedrooms. Like,
this is your penthouse.
And you get a penthouse, and it didn't take very long for me to upgrade my thinking into that, but it just wasn't what I had been thinking, day to day, but it was what the deepest part of me had said, hey, yo, this is what we want, right? This is what's going to happen. So I'd argue that none of that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been doing this work, right? Starting with the writing of it, but also working with the feelings of it and really embodying what that would be like, despite it having physically shown itself to me yet.
And that feels like, well, I'm curious for those who are watching, what your experience has been with energy work, with vibrations, with visualization. Any of this that you might have heard, or you haven't heard any of this before? Curious what has worked for you, what hasn't. Just share a little bit with us. We would love to share your experience with
sharing with Shari. Well, I want to go back to what you started to say earlier around, because I was one of these people for sure who couldn't visually see things very clearly. Many moons ago, it was the 1990s, I used to go watch Marianne
how's
Williams.
it possible? You look so young.
Essential oils, lots of water,
lots of visualization.
Lots of visualizations, yes. And that's a thing too, people. I used to go to see Marianne Williamson.
Me too.
I bet we were in the same freaking rooms.
I bet.
At the Harmony Gold Theater. This was in LA when I very first got introduced to her on Santa Monica Boulevard. And she still does like the exact same introduction to her visualizations and we see in the middle of our minds a beautiful golden ball of light. And it's in a gazebo, and through it runs a river. And I'd be like, I can't see it.
Yep, I only saw the light. bright light. That was it.
I would get so upset. But it took a lot of, time. It took practice to get to a point. And I still am not one of I don't like, it's not like fantastic colors that sometimes, but what has worked for me is going through that process, but the feeling part, like,
Yeah.
because what you were saying earlier, like being about childhood, and just as an adult, just in the last 24 hours, something you did made you feel good inside, happy or something, right? There was some feeling we can draw upon, and you can use that same feeling because your subconscious mind knows what that feels like. You know what that feels like. So you can just borrow the feeling from an unrelated incident and apply it onto what you're doing. And you're just telling your subconscious, this is how this is it. This is how it's going to feel, right? This is what we want. So if you don't feel it from the thing that you don't have yet, then borrow it from the thing that you have felt already.
All these things that we're borrowing. I hope we don't have any IOUs.
No, it's yours anyways. You're just moving it from a different department.
But yes, that is a tool that I learned recently too, because I didn't know that. So that is so powerful. And I hope, the people hearing, that's what I just recently started doing over the last few months, is borrowing that feeling and going, okay, if I can't really feel that, because for whatever there is, a block, or there's no clarity or whatever, even, when there's a constriction. So when I want to feel into something and I could feel some sort of constriction, I go to that other thing I'm borrowing, that other energy feeling around something, and I'm able to use that. Yeah. So that's powerful.
It works.
It works. Our work here is done. And scene.
Well, there's something you've totally manifested.
Which thing?
I know.
There's lots. So what are you?
Well, I'm thinking of one in particular, but yes, there are many. Your stand-up comedy. Which is
interesting. Well, I say, because the stand-up comedy there's a thing about borrowing a thing, because stand-up comedy, well, in a way, wasn't a thing that I was looking to do. What I was wanting to manifest were more opportunities to be on stage, to entertain, to make people laugh, to make them feel good, to just, there were so many aspects of that. And then that popped into my world one too many times, the opportunity to do it. And when I say pop into my world, I feel like that energy that I was placing and really feeling into brought a totally different, unexpected path that if you would have said to me 6 months ago, like, I would be like, oh God, no, like, never stand up. Like, and for whatever reason, because that was the path, when it popped up in my world, I said, okay. And now I'm starting, I just did a couple of shows, and I'm going to start doing some open mic nights. And even with this, though, that feeling that I'm getting on stage, that feeling, that buzz, that vibration, I already know that is leading to other things and bigger things that haven't presented themselves to me yet, that I know, because I could feel it. I could feel the energy around it that are coming. And so that is exciting. And it's again, staying in this place of joy, staying in this place of creativity, staying in this high vibration like we did as kids, even if it is blowing bubbles. I was having a consulting session yesterday because, I help people get onto television to share their message. And I was meeting with one of my clients yesterday, and she was like, are those bubble wands behind you? And I said, they sure are. And I shared with her about it. And they sure are. Yes. But that's really what I want to encourage people, though, because again, if you want to create anything, if you want to bring anything to life, like, you have to be in that higher energy state, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what wants to, like, if you're that guy or girl, that person that's like trying to get into a relationship, and you are like so clingy and you're like holding on, and there's desperation and lack, wouldn't you, as the recipient of that, be like, and like be repelled and want to get away from that? I feel like our manifestations have that same feeling too. Like, so if it's a lower vibration and energy around it, as opposed to completely open and knowing.
Well, right. it's not that that person, as an example, the tight, clingy
Yeah.
person, not that that person couldn't attract someone, but the
Okay.
likelihood, the money I'd put down on that is they'll attract someone just like that, or some version of that same level of energy, right?
Fair enough. Yes.
Because that's what happens, right? We attracts like.
Thank you for
In
the expansion and clarification on that.
Well, you're welcome. And and that's all. I think that's always true.
Yeah.
Period. And that's why, to your point, the doing blowing bubbles. I'm looking at my bubbles; they're just too far to reach off
I'll
the.
do one for both of us.
Okay. I have them on my ledge here because this has been so fun for me. Every day, at some point, usually twice a day at this point, I open the window. There's no screen on these windows. So I open the window up and I wait and I wait for lots of cars or people to be walking by, and I just kind of blow bubbles out the window.
I love that.
And sometimes you just see like, where are these coming from? It makes me laugh. And that's a great, that it makes me laugh, right? Blowing bubbles is childish and fun. But now it's an adult thing for us. But then the laughter part of it just increases that energy. And then when you use that energy to do your creation work, that's the energy of the creation that you're bringing into, that you want to bring into reality. So
the inception, right? Which
I was waiting for one of us to say the word. Yes.
Yeah.
The energy of the inception is the energy of the result that you will get.
That is so powerful. State that again.
Yes. The energy of the inception, the energy inception, if that doesn't quite make sense for someone, then it's really the energy at the point of origination for whatever you're doing, whether you're doing it consciously or not, but especially if you're doing it consciously.
Can you give a practical example? Like creating a course, or I just did it.
Yeah. Or like right now, like just before coming here, I was sitting in this super cool cafe that someone recommended to me. It's my new home office.
I'm going.
It's so cool. I was in there and I was like, they're playing all this 70s like disco music, like, and I knew every single word, and I'm kind of singing out loud. And like the lady next to me was like, all right, voulez-vous coucher avec moi? I got it. You know the words. It was all of these like sexy 70s songs. I'm like, yeah, fly, Robin, fly. And I was in this high energy.
I gotta stop this right now. Turn, move your head a little bit. Okay, no, just a tiny bit. Anyway, that hook or whatever's hanging from your wall right behind you, it looked like you were wearing an earring. And your collar. So as you were explaining 70s, like I saw you in a disco, like it just like
it's a wire.
Okay. Yeah, it just looked like an earring. Okay, guys. Sorry.
So I was like digging the music. I was also had some espresso, but it was just like high. I was in this high vibe mode.
Yeah.
And I went in to make some edits on a document, and I ended up completely like recreating it and using language I hadn't thought to use before about my own program. I'm like, what? And it totally got transformed because I was in this high energy state and my mind was clear and thinking and really tuned into new possibilities around how to describe this program that I have, or this coaching program I lead, right? So that's like a really recent example.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is that you people watching are putting in, as the thing that you want, the energy that you say that from, that you pop that into existence from, that you want to be, high energy, what is the energy that you want that's associated with that outcome? Like for me, the energy of the penthouse, the way I wrote that, it was like, it was a description for something in Architectural Digest.
Yes.
It was a certain kind of language. It was a very like elevated, designy, type of wording that I don't normally speak, day to day, but in that is what came through me. And that's like, I want to be enveloped in opulence and light and energy and views and creativity. That was the energy of inception. And that's why the universe wasn't going to allow me to rent a room in someone's crappy, apartment on other people's furniture, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't possible
Pull that
because
away
that's
from
not.
you. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So that those are examples.
Those are great examples.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What
Well,
about you?
no, a perfect example is when I was doing more personal development coaching,
Mhm.
I was creating some programs that did not feel like things that I really wanted to be doing or didn't feel quite right, but it was coming from an energy of like, I need to, or whatever that is, because whatever that side story was. But so when I
Yeah.
created them, they had no traction.
Yeah.
They had like nobody came to them or nobody signed up for it, as opposed to the energy in which I have created my media consulting, which feels like joy and feels so expansive and opening, and how I could bring that to other people, the opportunities for them. All I had to do was create one post, and people are coming. Just yesterday, as we were talking about, between me, you, and Denise, talking about uh, the inception of stuff, or creating our dream clients and all of that. All I did was think in detail and feel what they would feel like and how they come so easily. And yesterday I got a random message from someone that I don't talk to very much that said, I'm sending this person your way for your media consulting. And that was the energy in which I was creating even just my, ideal clients and how they come and who they are and all of
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. That's so on that note, that's kind of what I was doing with this document. So I could see even though I have had clients come to this program who I love and adore. Some of them watch the show here, right?
I show watcher. I mean, the clients, show watchers.
Hello, you watchers. I wasn't using the same energy when I created that document that I just revised, right? Ooh, I love that
Mhm.
background. And so I'm very curious to see now what's going to happen, because I've changed the energy of how my program is described. And I'm doing what you just described, is going in, right, internally.
Mhm.
And also will be written to declare what are the kinds of clients I want. I've already started that with some statements I've created, these personal energetic assumption statements that I'm saying every day outside my window. There's a thing about me saying this out this window for some reason. And this view that I have right here, I will maintain, but just 9 floors higher. So I
So
can't,
cool. Because it's a penthouse. Because of
in the
course.
penthouse, right? So, but now it's, why wouldn't you do this?
Right.
One, because most people don't know to do this. Okay, but once you know, and then if you don't do this, then what are you doing? Right? If whatever your work is, whether you're an employee of someone else's or you have your own business, whatever you do, you get to decide how you want that to go. And how, if I was an employee someplace, I would be doing this around the people I work for. I wouldn't just accept that they are how they are. I would, if I would create the kind of ideal, boss or CEO or whatever the process, whatever the layers are, even if that's not how they've been showing up, I would create that this is the kind of people that they are, and my coworkers, right? Or any people that I was managing,
The
whatever.
energy of the environment, right? Of where you
Yeah.
are and how people show up for you.
So you don't have to be a business owner to do these things, right? But if you are a business owner and you sell products, or you help, you have coaching clients, or you write books, or whatever you do, then doing this same kind of imaginal act, this same kind of declaration is so powerful, because that's then what you're telling your subconscious. And then your subconscious says, okay, great, we'll go get some of that for you. And then these things, then you get a random message from someone saying, hey,
Right.
I'm sending you a client, someone who should work with you. It's
From
no
someone you
accident.
don't even talk to rarely. That's like,
Right. It's not an accident.
yeah.
So, and I have certainly in the past, other versions of Rich created programs the way you were describing, from panic.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I need this much money to come in, and I need this many people to buy it. And if they don't, I'm going to be homeless, or, that kind of like, ah. So that's one way to go about things. And that's the energy of inception, right?
Yes.
So I'm just excited till I'm recreating and creating a whole new business line uh,
Yes.
that will be born from being conscious about it from the get-go before any program gets created. It's what is the energy of the whole thing.
It's so powerful. It's so powerful. I'm getting excited now because what I've also uncovered, just remembered, is the fact that we are all creating or desiring goals or like whatever that is because of the feeling that we believe it will give us.
Right.
And so why can't we create that feeling beforehand? And that in itself is a manifestation already created. And once you are in that feeling, then you are already in, as our friend Denise says, your wish fulfilled. And so everything else that comes is then the bonuses. And that's what I have been being reminded of the last few months more than anything, was like, oh, I'm just sitting around and there's not like, and I'm just happy, or I'm laughing for no reason, or I'm sitting and I'm so joyous. And there's no, like, to the outside eye, like, oh, she just got $10 million. Oh, she just got her television show. Or, oh, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't, and it was, and I was like, this is how I want every day to be. Right? Like, no, there's what?
Your face, that just was very cute.
Oh. So there is so much power in just the creation, like you're saying, the inception of that energy, of that feeling, and that feels like the gift.
Yeah, and really that's such a good point.
That's what I get paid the big bucks around here for.
You get all the points.
The money.
Eternal joke we have.
Yeah.
This is how you know, like, you're really in it. Like, you're really not just, these aren't theoretical ideas and concepts, that you're actually living it. As so cute. I do feel like
you're so cute.
I feel like we're 5 years, like in kindergarten, like having our
and we're even in black together.
Black together, yeah. Can you allow yourself to feel the feels, to feel yourself up, right, with the good feelings, even though you don't have the thing?
Kids. Now we're 5. Just want to make it official. Okay.
Blame it on the bubbles. So can you allow yourself to have those feelings before you have the thing? Yes. Because I had lived many years in the opposite, right? When I get the thing, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be whatever that I think it's going to bring me, like you were just saying, right? We think the thing's going to bring something, but can you feel that before it comes? But do you have the thing if you have feels?
But you do have the thing if you have.
But you do have the thing if you. I was like, yes. Oh, that's a trick question. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, and that's what we were just sharing. Is that is it that, because if we are creating in order to, we feel like that thing, whatever it is, that's going to bring us the feels. If we have the feels before we have it, then we have created. Like,
so as it, you know, the Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
How she talks about, or they talk about, the rockets of desire, right? Launching our rockets of desire, and all she talks about is feeling your feels, right? Is it's all in the feelings. Also, the other guy that the Notes from the Universe.
Oh yeah, Mike Dooley.
Mike Dooley, right? All of it, all he talks about at the end of the day is the same thing. Feel the feels, because that's how you get, that is what manifestation is all about. You got to feel it before you have it. Can you, okay, going back to what we've already covered, if there's a thing that you want and you're like, oh, but I can't feel it, then go to something that has already given you that same kind of feeling that you want, and lay it on top of that new rocket that you're launching.
Borrow from the energy.
Yeah. And if you have to, borrow our energy, borrow our good feelings, and say, just imagine that. But you have things in your life. I'm talking to the other people, not you, Sherry. We all have things at some point in our lives. Something made us feel really good, really happy, really whatever it is that you need the feeling to be. You have it there. So just allow yourself to resurface that, to represence that. That's the word I was looking for. And then use that energy as the jump off point, as that launch pad to send your thing out there, right?
Yes. And I think an important thing to note is, as we talk about feeling, we're not just talking about, because some people feel like this is what I would feel like in my head, but it's about really tuning into your body.
Yes. Good segue. Yes. It's not a mental, I mean, part of it is, right? We're thinking,
Right.
we're visualizing, we're imagining, but it is, can you bring it into the visceral and into the body, right? That is where it gets
Juicy.
That's the word I was going to use.
And that just comes because, and I'm going to state this because I know that just comes from awareness, right? Of like just taking that moment, because there was a time that I could have told you, or some other could have told you that I don't really feel things in my body, or I don't know. And it was only because I didn't stop to tune in. And so when you just have the awareness and you tune in and you go, oh, like when something really good is happening to you in your life, just take that moment to feel where that is in your body. And as you are creating what it is that you want, at that energy of exception, allow yourself to go back to that place, whatever that expansion was, that wideness in your chest. Or for me, it's always the tingles. I get the tingles in my nose and I get all scrunchy. And that's where my joy in creation lies. Always. I always know when I'm so aligned, because I go like a little tickle up there. But that's what I tune into when I'm creating something, is allowing myself to feel that. And so then whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm using that energy to create.
It's your bewitched energy.
Oh, that was like my Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah, that is so. That's I like that.
Oh, what I said. Cool.
Say it again. Actually, say it again.
I don't know which part you talked about. I said a lot.
Before Pillsbury Doughboy, when something. Okay, I'm going to try to recreate what you said.
Yeah.
Now I remember. When something happens, I'll talk about me. So when something great happens to me, to remember to notice where I feel it in my body, and be conscious of that, be aware of that, like note it, duly noted, right?
Yeah.
And then that's an access point to tune into that same place of that feeling that I want. And for me, like it currently, and it changes, it depends, but pretty consistently lately, it's been somewhere between my second and third chakras, so basically my whole abdomen region, where those two are, there's certain like bubbling feeling, or like this, like,
damn it, he said bubbles, guys.
There's a certain sensation that I get that just feels like strength, in like after you've done a good ab workout, right? And it's not painful. It's just like this, like, inside, and like at this bubbling feeling. And so I know, like you were saying, that's how I know, oh, okay, this is in alignment.
Yeah.
Just like I know when something isn't in alignment, that shows up in a different part of my body. So but you're right. We get to know and pay attention. And this is the consciousness part, awareness. Notice where these things show up, and then keep track of that, so that you know what your body's telling you, and you can use that energy to make the next choice, or to choose again.
Yeah. I get, I get like, I gotta share something. I'm like turning into like a little kid, like maybe, or from Welcome Back, Kotter. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So I talked about this a little bit in my stand-up, and I'm not going to create it as funny now, because it's based off of truth, right? Like there's this whole movement about feeling your feelings, because there's so much, right? Like spiritual, whether it's spiritual bypassing, or even just people who don't want to go to that darker place. And so it just hurts too much. So I had to go previously, I felt like I had to go through that journey, but you don't have to know hot, you don't have to touch stone to know hot, right? Or more than one time.
Right.
So that was for Diana. So, uh, but there's this whole thing about the amount of time and the amount of energy that we spend sitting with the harder feelings, the more challenging feelings. Like I want to challenge people to sit with the higher vibration feelings, to sit with the joy, to sit with the happiness, to journal about that. Right? Like, so when you're feeling good, like often we're like, oh, I feel so good. And then that goes away. But like, what about if we really anchored that in instead of like anchoring in? I understand why people feel that they need to sit with the sadness or all of that, and you could just walk through it. But I feel like there is absolutely a balance, and actually that we should go the other route. That's like, let's talk about the joy. Let's talk about where that feels in your body, because that will have you be so much more in tune and aware of it.
Yes. I understand what you're saying. And there is, um, I think it's the consciousness in which if you're going to sit in lower energy feelings,
Mm-hmm.
are you doing it consciously, or are you doing it as from victimhood, right? From
Right.
a different place, right? Totally different ways to be, and like you're saying, like letting that move through rather than creating a zip code and hanging out in that
Right.
place,
Or denying completely. Right.
or pushing it down, and
Yeah.
which also can create negative physical, mental, spiritual side effects. Not will if you keep doing that, right? But I love what you're saying is, and no one talks about this. It's like, yeah, when I'm feeling great, why wouldn't I want to sit in that and like really juice that up?
Feel it.
Yeah,
Feel
and enjoy it. And then it too is going to move on, right? It's that too is like, like little puffy clouds going
Yep.
across the screen of our lives, right? But using those opportunities to really notice, like we were just saying, well, where did I feel that in my body? Or and it could be outside of your body too. Just where is it?
Yep.
And maybe it's also other senses, right? Sometimes, and I've had this experience, sometimes I'll smell something that is not in my environment. There's no way it's in my environment. And when I've taught classes on intuition, I know, this happens for some people. So we have different senses, right? Maybe you do visualize something that other people are not seeing, or you hear something that other people are not hearing. Like these are all other access points in addition to the physical sensations that we can have. But how do you know if you have them if you're not actually paying attention?
Right.
And using those tools that we all have access to, these various gifts in different ways. The only way you know is if you're paying attention, and that's back to the awareness and the consciousness, and living
And
your life
blowing
around
those up.
that. Say it again.
And blowing those up. Like that's really what
Yeah.
that is. And I'm like blowing up the feels of the good.
Right.
Right.
Well, I think too, this is not in my timeline now, but other timelines that I've lived in, there was guilt.
I'm sorry, officer. Can we get no?
There was guilt around, I don't want anyone to know I'm feeling so good, because there's cultural, in other realities, there's these things that exist that say you can't be too happy because that's wrong, or people will be jealous, or like there's these paradigms, and
It's the
some
wrong
of it,
time.
family, belief systems and cultural and religious beliefs and all of that stuff. I'm so glad I'm not living in those realities anymore.
Mhm.
Because why, we're meant to be loving and feeling good, right? And
Yeah.
that's where we are the powerful creators, is from that energy. If you want things to happen fast, September 29th, I wrote about this apartment. Several days ago, I signed the lease for it, and on the 31st, I get the keys handed to me.
Hmm.
So in less than a month, it came. And then just in a few extra days, I'm living in it, right? So that's not accidental. That was a conscious creation through.
Yes. Sorry, I yelled.
Yes.
Yes.
You get a penthouse and you get a penthouse. And
Because it
you
wasn't accidental, it was intentional. You
Yeah.
created that. You and so for those of you who are watching, whose energy brought you here, like, not only state clearly what you want to bring into existence, but again, just to wrap it up, like, feel, what does that feel like? What will that energy feel like? And spend more time in the awareness and the creation of that, no matter what it is that you're creating. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, you know what that vibration, or if you don't, you will know what that vibration feels like within your body. And just spend, not just, but spend time in there. Like, I wrote down this morning before we had this, I just wrote more fun, less work. And that was a concept, though, that I had to work through because I had to work through having fun. Like, where, yeah, wow,
There's an
this fun is
oxymoron.
so much work.
I'm
I
tired
should
of
write
having
that
so
down
much
for,
fun.
yeah, I'm exhausted from all this fun. I'm like writing that down for future comedy. Okay.
That is funny right there. Yes.
But it's, and I feel like it's almost like a cultural thing, well, a societal thing, that you have to work so hard in order to, right, to be successful or whatever, and less play, and there's no time. Or and I have to tell you that as we've been doing this 3-month program with Denise, the more that I pull back and stop doing, and I'm in the space and energy of the fun, the more creation, the more stuff that's been happening. And so I'm like, huh, God, look at this. Look at all this fun that I'm having, and look at all this stuff that's showing up. And it's not an accident. It's not an accident that I am in this high vibration and attracting more things to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's intentional. And what
You're
a
intentional
concept to live life intentionally, consciously, through awareness and having fun doing it.
and
Right.
having fun doing it. I
It's not, it's gotta be fun. Otherwise, what's the point?
well, right. And I shared recently about, and you said it today, the waiting for something to happen in order to. And I was doing a lot of that, like waiting for it to go achieve those goals. And then you feel that happiness or that joy in that moment. And then there's the stress to get to the next one. And it's like, if in that between that time you're in that higher, in that good positive feeling, then you have more joy filled moments. You have a more joy filled life, right? Those moments in between as you travel. And a long time ago, I don't know, but I've been asked many times, like, how are you like so happy, or where does all this like joy comes from? And the one thing that I remember learning many moons ago, it seems lifetimes ago, was that, it was like, let's make a deal, Monty Hall.
Yes, I love that show.
Yeah, and like, what's behind door number 1 and door number 2? And door number 1 was, the big chicken there with a dozen eggs. And like, wah, wah, wah. And then
I'm like,
2 was like, it's a brand new car.
right.
And it was like knowing that I had those choices and which one actually energetically felt better to sit in that space of. And that's what I feel like we all intentionally can walk through that door, whatever one that is that you want.
Love it.
Love it. Okay.
Love it.
Any last words before we say goodbye to all of our beautiful peeps?
I just encourage everyone who's watched this to write down in detail what you want, and then tap into your feelings to imagine what it will be like to have that thing and say it out loud. Like, I stand at this window and I say these things out loud, to the air, to the house across the
Here, it's the millions of viewers. That's
to the millions of viewers, right? And allow yourself to just pump up those feelings, and that's the energy of your inception. That's what you're putting it out there with, right? And the results that you get will match the energy that you put it out with. So really play with this. Have fun with it. Have fun with it.
And really quickly, I already posted it, but let everybody know how they can stay connected with you.
Currently, the best way is right here on Facebook, my personal profile, Rich Oseguera, and also LinkedIn. Same, Rich Oseguera. And there's more coming soon where you'll have other ways to follow what I'm doing. But those are the 2 great places now.
Awesome. And why, really quickly, who wants to work with you? People
Oh,
who
yes.
want.
If you want to be able to powerfully use the power of storytelling to create short form videos that attract and magnetize your potential clients, then that is what I teach my clients how to do.
Awesome. And if you want to spread your message on television to be able to grow your brand, visibility, credibility, reach out to me and set up your discovery call. Thank you all so much for tuning in for another episode of Thanks. Huh?
Or work with us both. I'll
Work with us
make you
both.
great on camera, and she'll tell you what to say and how to get on camera.
That's right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week for another episode of Thanks for Nothing.
Oh, that was the closest. That was
The
close.
closest.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.